I'll do most of the thank yous in the end, but I just want to open with a big thank you for the yeshiva, for supporting me and giving me giving me the house and the whole place to do it and whatever I needed. So I just want to open with thank you for this and really helped me put this evening together. I've been through some very special months. Until 4 months ago, Toronto was only a faraway memory and mostly a tale. I heard so many stories and memories that most of them I know more from my parents than I remember them myself. I think that the 4 years spent here in Canada as a family shaped our personal lives and our family in so many ways. So many inside jokes, stories, family expressions, and experience that even Racheli, my youngest sister, that was born after we returned to Israel, knows. And all of a sudden, in a couple of months, I'm here for the second time. First time this summer with almost my whole family, with my dad. And the second time now with the Shaliach. All of a sudden, the stories become reality, and the words have a grab in the real world. I'm feeling a connection to parts of me you didn't know. And parts I didn't know in my Abba. To see and understand where he davened, taught, the kind of people he met, and what's the whole atmosphere and the whole place he lived in. It's been 16 years since we left Toronto, 17th year since we left Toronto, and we weren't sure how much people here remembered us, or how much of our influence in the 4 years that we were here is left. But since I got here and getting vibes and signs, the people remember, and the delight that Abba lit here is far from disappearing. This night, right here, is another sign that Yaakov Avinu lo met. Yaakov Avinu isn't dead. Because as long as his good deeds, his personality is mentioned and keeps spreading goodness, so tzadikim b'mitatam kuim chaim. Righteous in their death are called living. Chach Ba'aretz. Chach Ba'aretz was a term that I always felt a strong connection to. To those of you who aren't familiar with this term, Chach Ba'aretz is a North American Bnei Akiva camp between grade 10 and 11, which takes place in Israel. The tale I always heard was that Abba started Chach Ba'aretz here in Toronto. But I did not really know what exactly happened and if this claim is really true. So last week I asked my mom to help me find out the story, and she contacted Danny Herschel, who was the Bnei Akiva of Toronto these years. So it turns out that my father didn't really start arts here, but there were a couple of years that the program didn't really go really well in Toronto because of the expensive cost, but mainly because it didn't have such a good reputation. In these years, my father was the Bnei Akiva Rav for his 2 last years here in Toronto. He was the Rav Bnei Akiva. The Bnei Akiva Olami decided to improve the program and appointed a new person in the head of the program who tried to do some changes, and among them, he also tried to recruit more kids from Toronto. He offered a small discount, but the parents from Toronto wanted separate buses for boys and girls, even though Bnei Akiva was, by principle, in favor of a co-ed program. In the Bnei Akiva Congress, my dad gave a speech about what is important and unimportant, about the need for a list of priorities, and if what is needed right now in order to get the kids to come to Israel are separate buses, so it's worth sacrificing the co-ed education principle. I think there's something that really characterized my father's educational way. Getting to the guys sometimes requires going outside of your comfort zone, because education is first of all the ability to approach the kids, and you need to do whatever it takes. And really, Bnei Akiva agreed, and they started the Chach Esder, which included separate buses. Chach Ba'aretz is a word that evokes really pleasant memories in our family. A couple of years after we came back to Israel, Abba was a Rav in Chesed in Israel for a couple of years, which meant that for 2 weeks each summer, he would teach kids in yeshiva. 1 week was in Gush Etzion. That's, of course, really close to home. It was really convenient. However, on the second week, it was in Chispin, in the Golan. So we would drive the whole family to the Golan. My dad would teach in the morning, and afternoon we would take the car, travel the whole Golan, and go to trips, and go along. And some of the best memories we have together. And really, these summers meant a lot to us, and it were really, really good summers. In one of those camps in the summer was a young madrich, a special guy. Today's Rav Yair Levi. I have the enormous privilege to work with him this year, here in Or Chaim. When I just thought of the idea of putting this evening together, I brought it up before Rav Yair, and he right away pushed me and put this evening together, so thank you for that. We'll do a short song now, try maybe to sing together, and then afterwards Rav Yair will do a Torah and a Siyum.
So we have students, friends, and Bikar family of Marina Rubin Rubin. 3 months ago we were driving in the car, and Aviad told me that we're going to try and do something together. And I thought about all the charutas and sichot and hulot that we did together. And I tried to summarize all of them in one pasuk. The pasuk that came to mind is Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva vayelech Harana. And the pasuk literally means that Yaakov left from Beersheva and went to Haran. The two questions that the Sfat Emet asks is, why doesn't it say Vayivrach? Should have said that he ran away because he was so afraid. And it chooses a different word called Vayetze, which means that he chose. And the second question is that, what does it matter that he left from Beersheba? And if he left from Tzfat, it would matter? It doesn't really. So those two questions connect to one thing. The first question again, why Vayetze and not Vayivrach? And the second, why from Beersheba? In 34 years, I've been zochet to be in a lot of Batei Midrash. But there is one person that flipped the two words for me. A Beit Midrash is where you're trying to create a home that's searching for ideas. But with Rav Yaakov, it was different. It was ideas searching for a home. And I remember learning with him one night, and I said, we have to change the word from Beit Midrash to Midrash Bayit. That we're not seeking ideas, but the ideas are enabling us always to return home. And the secret, I think, of Yaakov Avinu was that he knew that he had to flee and run. But his mindset was that no one will ever force me to do anything. I will always choose. I have two brothers. My youngest brother, at the age of 6, decided to leave Hashem and decided to go into depths of many, many different paths in his life. And I remember when he was in 7th grade, he came back on the first day. And he had this huge smile on his face. And I said, Tzviki, you never smile when you come from school. Like, what's wrong? So he said, you don't understand. We have this new Rebbe. His name is Reb Don. And I said, so what was so amazing? What was so special? And he said, on the first day, he walked over to me and he said, Tzviki, I just want to listen. I don't want to tell you anything. And that was the first time that he met a Rebbe. My older brother struggled a long time to get his degree. And he sent me this idea that there was a guy named Rav Yaacov Don, after something like 11 years trying to get his degree, sat him down and said, I know that everyone has told you you can't, and they're right. They're right. You're struggling. But if I'm here with you, you'll be able to do it. And he has a degree now, and he's running his master's. And if there's someone that I've met in my life that has created concept of Bayit, it is Rav Yaakov, and I think it's so special for the community to be doing this evening with such a unique son by Rav Abiyah. And we really have the incredible opportunity to understand that what you've been doing here in the last 4 months is every time we drive in the car, you tell me, Abba said this, and Abba said this, and Abba said that, and Abba said here. But you're walking around with the biggest smile, with so much energy and so much creativity. And I think that we should all have the zchut to know that although there are so many things that we struggle with on this night, there's also the opportunity to look at a sun and see the bniyah, see the building of someone that knows that Bayit is the center. And we should all have the bracha really to just know how much you've given to my family, to my brothers. Anything I do in education is from your Abba. So we're just going to do the siyum. And Beersheba is where I was born. And every time I look at the pasuk, I remember that Yaakov leaves from Beersheba because that's home. And if you have home, you could go anywhere. And I know that I didn't live in your home, but I remember in the Shiva, I walked in. I didn't know you yet, but if you looked around the room, the age was between 15 to 18. There were about 3,000 kids. There were no elderly, just 3,000. And if there's someone that gave the feeling people of Beersheba, and how they could do anything, any educators, anywhere we're going, it's stemming from your bayit, from your home. And it's a real bracha to be together tonight. So we're just going to do a siyum on Masechet Erechim. בזכות המורי ורבי וגדול הקהילה, משנה הדור. הדרן הלך מסכת ערכין, והדרן הלך מסכת ערכין ודעת החלן, לא נעים את השם מנח מסכת ערכין, נותנים את השם מנח, לא בעל מעדם ולא בעל מדעתי. הדרן הלך מסכת ערכין, והדרן החלן, דעת החלן מסכת ערכין, דעת החלן, לא נעים את השם מנח מסכת ערכין, נותנים את השם מנח, לא בעל מעדם ולא בעל מדעתי. הדרן הלך מסכת ערכין, והדרן הלך מסכת ערכין, ודעת החלן, לא נעים את השם מנח מסכת ערכין, נותנים את השם מנח, לא בעל מעדם ולא בעל מדעתי. יהי רצון לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו, שתהיה תורתך אומנותנו בעולם הזה ותהיה ממנו לעולם הבא. חנינא בר פפא, רמי בר פפא, נחמן בר פפא, אחי בר פפא, אבא מרי בר פפא, רפא בר פפא, רחיל בר פפא, סוכה בר פפא, עדה בר פפא, דרו בר פפא. הערב נא אדוני אלוהינו את דברי תורתך מפינו ובפיות עמך בית ישראל ונהיה כולנו אנחנו וצאצאינו וצאצאי עמך בית ישראל כולנו יודעי שמך ועמדי תורתך. מאויבי תחכמני מצוותיך כי לעולם כי לי יהי ליבי תמים בחוקיך למען לא אבוש, לעולם לא אשכח פקודיך כי בם חייתני ברוך אתה ה' למדני חוקיך אמן 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 צדק ואל. מודים אנחנו לפניך ה' אלוהינו ולאבותינו ששמת חלקנו ביושבי בית המדרש, לא שמת חלקנו ביושבי קונות שאנו משכימים והם משכימים, אנו משכימים דברי תורה, הם משכימים דברים בטלים, אנו עמלים והם עמלים, אנו עמלים ומקבלים שכר והם עמלים ואינם מקבלים שכר, אנו רצים והם רצים. אנו רצים לחיי עולם הבא והם רצים לבאר שחת, שנאמר ואתה להם תורדם לבאר שחת, אנשי דמים ומרד לא יחצו מהם ואני אפתח בך. יהי רצון לפניך אדוני אלוהי כשם שעזרתני לסיים מסכת איך אם כן תעזני להתחיל מסכתות וספרים אחרים ולסיימם ללמוד וללמד לשמור ולעשות ולקיים את כל בית תלמוד תורתך באהבה בזכות כל התנאים והאמוראים ותלמידי חכמים יעמוד לי ולזרי שלא תמוש התורה מפי ומפי זרי וזרע זרי עד עולם ותתקיים ביבית הלכתך תנחה אותך ושבחך תשמור עליך והקיצות הייתי שיחך כי בירבו ימיך ויוסיפו לך שנות חיים אורך ימים בימינה בשמאלה עושר וכבוד אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. תודה והתפדה שני רבה. ועלמה דברתי להתחלתה ולהחיים ולסייע לעסקה לחיי עלמה ולבני קרתה לירושלים לשחרר לחלה בגבר ולמעקר פולחנה נוחה מערה ולאטרה פולחנה דשמיים לאטרה וימיר קודש אביכו במלכותי ויקרא בחייכון ומנחון ובחי לכל בית ישראל ועגלה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה וברך לעולם נאמר מיה יתברך וישתבח ויתברך ויתמם ויתנשא ויתהדר 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 שמי לקושה ולכוך נעלם כל בחדה ושרתה תשבחתה ונפתה דאמירה ואמרת אמרו אמן. על ישראל ועל רבנן ועל תלמידי הון ועל כל תלמידי הון ועל כל מאן דעסקין באורייתא דיברת ועדין ודיבה חולתה ואתה יהא להון ולכון שלם הרב אחינה וחיסא וחמי וחיי אריכי ומזון יראה ויחי ופורקנה מן קדם ואבונדי בשמיה והרב אמרו אמן. יהי שלם הרב אמין שמיה וחיים טובים עליהם וכל ישראל אמרו אמן. עשה שלום אמרו אמן יעשה שלום ורחמה עליהם וכל ישראל אמרו אמן.
Now start with a few people who will share memories. It's honored to start with Josh Sable. He used to work with my dad at Chat, and we would do together. They shared the office and led the special events together. Since my father's death 2 years ago, Josh has been in touch with us, and he connected us to memories from students from the past and all the time. So.
Good evening, everyone. 18 years ago, Rav Don and I were co-directors of student activities at Chat. I oversaw the general studies activities, and Rav Don oversaw the Jewish activities. At the time, as Avi had said, we actually shared a desk together, which, as you can imagine, would have been problematic for two people who didn't particularly like each other. But luckily, I liked Rav Don. I liked him a lot. And in fact, I liked him from the first moment that I met him. He was, but everyone liked Rav Don. Everyone loved Rav Don. He had a big, winning smile, a gorgeous mustache, and his eyes always squinted when he smiled. And it was really his heart, though, that made him unique. It was a heart that really knew only warmth and kindness. He really was a larger-than-life personality. He had this big, deep, booming baritone voice. We collaborated often on programs of Jewish and general studies together, but the truth is he never really liked those titles. He never liked the idea of dividing or separating programs into Jewish programs or general programs. And even though I sat on one side of the desk doing the general programs and he did the Jewish programs, that never sat well with him. Because one of his goals from the outset was to not identify or classify a program or an experience as Jewish. He didn't want to alienate anyone. He felt that every program, every event, every shiur, every lesson should be a potential fit for every student or teacher or person he was working with, regardless of his or her religious background, or educational background, or family life. At the time, we had a Jewish holiday program, and it used to be run by a committee that we called Religious Affairs. And right away, Rav Don, the year that he and I worked together, he said we were going to change the title Religious Affairs because he just felt once again that in order to connect with as many people as possible, the title religious affairs implied that it was only for people who were particularly religious or particularly Orthodox. So he changed it from religious affairs to Jewish jive, because he thought that would connect more with people. And he was right. He was almost always right along the way. He really was a gift to our community, to the chat community, the B'nai Akiva community, and really to every community that he touched. And the fact that he was able to inspire so many young people and colleagues on 2 continents to think critically, to explore Torah with genuine interest, to help them begin the process of self-discovery is really a testament to his skill as an educator and his ability to see the world with eyes wide open all the time. He was certainly a master teacher in the classroom, and equally important, a master teacher outside the classroom. I often talk in the world of student activities, the world which I still work in, and talk with the students about what is our goal, what is our objective, and we talk about trying to give people just one reason to come back tomorrow. That's it. That's what we're trying to do. Give one person in the school a reason to come back tomorrow. And I think he lived his life that way. He lived his life about giving people a reason to come back. And if we can all do that and learn from Rav Don's amazing example that he set, and if we can all try to give one person a reason to come back tomorrow, I think we're on the right track. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to speak, and thank you for putting this important night together. Thank you.
וזכינו לגדל בנינו לבנים חכמים ולבונים אוהבי השם יראי אלוקים אנשי אמת צל הקודש בהשם ויקים וזכינו לגדל בנים ובני בנים חכמים ולבונים אוהבי השם יראי אלוקים אנשי אמת צל הקודש בהשם ויקים
But before that, I want to start with something else a little bit. My father gave us, his family, the feeling that he's always totally with us, being there for us and wherever and ever we need it. While my brother-in-law and I studied at Yeshivat Ma'ale Adumim, he would come every week to study with us, speak and be with us. He would say that he cherishes those moments. And it was on his way to Ma'ale Adumim to learn with us that he was taken from us. After his death, we learned through his many students how big an impact he had on their lives, leading them, being with them through all their struggles. He was the sort of person that was always there for anyone with a big smile and a huge heart. He could give us the feeling that he's totally with us and the students the feeling that he's totally with us. And a week from now, exactly a week from now, I'm going to be in Israel for the Rav Yaacov Don Yahrtzeit. And in 3 months, I'm going to finish the shlichut and go back to Israel. B'ezrat Hashem. Wanted to use this special opportunity that I'm here to try and hear memories and stories that we don't hear in our everyday life in Israel. So I put my email up in here. You could send emails if it's convenient and if it's good for you. And we also asked Anna to share with us, to start. Anyone in the audience that wants to share with us, we would really like to hear. But Anna agreed to open with a few words. You can speak from your place or whatever it is. Maybe you feel like.
So in case you're wondering, I was a student. Aviad's parents, like this, like this.
What is it?
Yeah, better? Okay, so I just have a few notes here. So this afternoon I actually spoke with Sarah, and she was saying she's so excited that we're here tonight and that we're speaking, and she was saying, sorry, I didn't prepare a lot, so I'm just going to speak like my thoughts. So she was saying like, oh, I still can't believe that you and your husband now are the grown-ups, and you're taking care of my grown son. And I said, you know, I can't believe that either. It seems like just yesterday we were the kids and you were our teachers. But I really think that your Ima, you know, she's obviously very proud that you put this together, and your Abba was stepping a lot in that too. My husband said before I left out tonight, please hold it together until you're done speaking, please, no crying. So, so here we go. So I met the Duns. I think some of my classmates are probably here. I was in grade 10 or 11, and we had a whole new batch of shlichim come in that year, and we walked into class, and Sarah was our Hebrew teacher that year, and she was just so excited to get going and teach us Hebrew, and you know, being like the nosy teenagers that we were, we all wanted to know which one of these new guys is your husband. Which one? She's like, oh, you know, he's like the really tall one. He's like the really tall one with the mustache. You'll see. And a couple of days later, he came to drop off a paper in the classroom, and we all turned around and saw this guy right here, very, very like tall, smiley, excited, with this like loud booming voice, and just came to drop off a book, and we all said, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Of course, that's Sarah's husband. they go so perfectly together. And they did. They were a real power couple. And we got to know them a lot better, and some of us became really, really close with this family, with your parents, and we would spend time in their house, and after we were done being students, many of us kept in touch, and I would go spend Shabbat with them in Israel during my time there. And I think some of the most important and special things that I learned from Sarah and from Rav Don were that he would just fly down the hall with this huge smile on his face. Every day was an exciting day. Every day was a happy day. And he would take pleasure in the simplest things, whether it was like Hanukkah party at their house, or Shabbos with all the students, or Purim carnival at school. He was just excited to get dressed up, and he wanted to see everybody's reaction to their costume and to their shtick. And he didn't take life too seriously, except when he needed to be serious. And when he was with you, he was totally with you. In the therapy world, I'm a therapist, we call that mindfulness. I don't know if you're familiar, but whatever he was doing, he was mindful in that moment. And I think that he took pleasure in whatever he was mindful of, and he appreciated that. He was just an easy to please kind of person. I think he was just happy with what he was doing. He was passionate about being a teacher, and he was passionate about his family, and I think in that way, so many of us felt like we were his and Sarah's extended family, because they were just passionate about having us around and having us in their lives. And what else did I write down here? And after I was done being a student, I would go spend time with them in Israel, and I remember the first Shabbat I spent with them in Elan Shvud, and Sarah was saying to me, I was saying, oh, Giveret, this, Giveret. She's like, Chana, we're not in the classroom anymore. Please, call me Sarah. And that's when I knew, like, I'm not just their student. Like, they really, really saw us as extended family, and we still were. And I think that I speak for many of us when I say that I know others feel this way, that I definitely would not be the person, the wife, the mother, the therapist that I am today if it weren't for their presence in my life. And I think that he touched every single person that he met that knew him and was part of his life. And I don't want to dwell on this part, but with his passing, it brought a tremendous loss for all of us who knew him and were close with him. But this past summer, we were fortunate enough to have a really nice visit with Sarah and the kids. Short but sweet. And for me, I'm not gonna lie, it was difficult for the first time seeing them without him, and I kept thinking, oh, any minute he's gonna just walk in and sit down on the couch with us. But seeing all the kids now grown up, and Racheli's a teenager, and you're a grown up, and Maor's doing his army, doing the intelligence, yeah. So much of what I see in the family and in his kids, I just see so many of his qualities, his simchat hachaim, and his the appreciation of all the good things that they see in their lives, and the ability to live within the moment and to appreciate each moment and each day and to take pleasure in the simple things. All that I see in his kids and in Sarah, who carries on so much of what he taught to all of us. And now that we're fortunate to have Aviad with us for these few months that he's here, and he comes to our house and comes for Shabbat, and so many of his qualities remind me so much of his Abba. And I think with that, we can carry a little piece of him with us, and I think that's really what he would have wanted.
See
One of Dad's students I got to meet here is Mr. Gerald Lazar, that works here in Orach Chaim. I found in him a lot of my father. Let me tell you a little bit about my father's main job. His job was called, in Hebrew, Wakaz Chavrati. That means a social manager. That meant that all the trips, activities were his responsibility, and mainly anything that's beyond studies, anything that's really fun in school, goes through him. He started his job in chat with Josh Sable, who was doing it until this day, right? Until this day, I think, and helped with this evening and its advertisement as well. My dad continues this particular role also in Israel in the high school he worked in, Derech Avot, for 13 and a half years. Actually, he did it until his last day. Mr. Lazar is the director of student life, which means he is responsible for anything beyond the normal studies, all the fun parts of school. Same role as my father. I want to describe shortly my father's office in school. His office was the open office. That meant that his office was always full of students, waiting for him, sitting and talking to him, or just hanging out, chilling, and spending their free or not really free time there. One of Dad's students had told us that he was going through a really rough time and he didn't really want to come to school. The only thing that kept him at school was an agreement that he made with my dad that the first thing he does in the morning is go by his office and tell him good morning. That made this kid want to come to school because he started his day with a smile. He started his day by going by his office. If any of you happen to pass by Mr. Lazar's office, you can have a taste of what it means to have an open office. No matter in which time of the day, lunch, breaks, and even lessons, you can find students there. This is the room in school that students feel comfortable to come by, talk, or just sit and hang out. I'm honored that Mr. Lazar agreed to share with us tonight some of his memories from my father.
So Rav Don taught me when I was in grade 12 at Chat, and though it's obviously been quite a while, I have many fond, distinct memories of him as a person and as a teacher. He was an unforgettable educator. He was warm, caring, and a lot of fun. The course was officially called Torah, and we did learn many Prakim and Bereshit, but that was not our focus day in and day out. This class was not the easiest group of students. We had very different levels of religious observance. Not everyone in the room was always the most cooperative student. And Rav Don's first priority was understanding his students as individuals. We spoke openly about struggles people were having, questions people had about any topic at all. He spoke passionately about Israel and often told us we were invited to his home when we visit Israel after he returns from Shlichut. Now, Chat could be pretty strict when it came to their rule against allowing students to leave class early. However, every now and then we'd have a great class, be finished with the day's topic, and we'd leave a little bit early. Rav Don would allow us. One day, an administrator came over to speak to Rav Don. Now, we had other teachers who would speak out openly against the administration and their rules. Rav Don had just ignored one of their rules. How would he respond when he was questioned? In retrospect, it came as no surprise how he dealt with it. He put his arm around the administrator, flashed his smile, explained why he let his class out early. All was right again. Rav Don was trusting. He was the only teacher who left the room during a test, told us he trusted us. When he walked back in one day and found a couple of people cheating, he took it in stride. It was more important his students learn not to betray trust and to be honest than it was for him to be petty or to be punitive. When I think back to some of the shiftim I had over my years as a student, unfortunately, I remember that there were occasions that we laughed at their expense. When I think about Rav Don, I think of our class laughing together with him. I think of serious conversations about life, about Israel, about Torah. There was no ego about Rav Don. His agenda was clear. He wanted to understand his students and inspire them, starting from where they honestly are. I hope I've carried the lessons he taught me in my career as an educator. I've had the pleasure over the last few months to work with Rav Don's son, Aviad. Rav Don's warmth and his enthusiasm for education lives on in Aviad, who will surely grow to be a successful, passionate educator following in his father's footsteps. Rav Don's life and his positive spirit left us too soon, but his impact lives on through his family and through those of us who knew
all the support and advice over the phone. I really can't describe how amazing she was during the past 2 years, and of course more during the past 2 years. But in general, she's just amazing and helped me so much. So she's the first one. To thank my uncle who helped me today, going over the version of the text I'm reading now. I want to thank Rav Grauer. The minute I just suggested the idea, he immediately said, whatever you need. And like everything I needed, from food to place to advertisement, everything he could help in, he just said, open house, open door. So we really thank you for that. And to Esti Zlotnik and Mr. Lazar, who helped me with all the technical side of the evening. They sat down, they really listened, whatever I had, just whatever I needed. And to Josh and Anna for speaking and for also helping with advertising and putting this evening together. Rav Yair and Tanya Levy, they're really for pushing me, just pushing me all the time. And for Rav Yaacov for all the help, if anything I needed, even if it's the last minute before this evening, just jumps right to it. To Rav Gal for the amazing musical performance today and for helping out. And for Avichai and Emmanuel for the support. And to all the shlichim. I want to thank Ahuva for being my mom here in Toronto. And if I need translations or advice, whenever I needed it, to all the young shlichim, especially my roommate Eitan, who really bared me the last week. I was like a nerve wreck, and he bared it. So thank you, and for Rav Yaacov for putting the really nice memory table outside and designing it. For all who supported this evening, Bnei Akiva Schools, Bnei Akiva Toronto, Eitan and Nili Zivan, Chat, and helped with it a lot. And Mizrahi Olami with Hilam Dalu and Eitan Mather who helped a lot, and the UJA. And last but not least, I want to thank God for being with me, this long, not simple 2 years. Been through a lot, and it's not easy to say it, but I really want to thank God for being with me. And right after the clip, we'll sing the Tikva, because I really think that my father would like it, the Tikva and the Nim Amin, and then we'll have my review.
See